Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. Steven here with TB Fork, and this is day 18 of the 80 Days to Your Dream Body course. Today's protein source is going to be beef liver, and today is a legs and abs training routine. And the theme for today's workout is CRAC PNF stretching. So right now, I'm going to be demonstrating how to perform CRAC PNF stretching. Now let's get started. And while we are resting, let's continue with our CRAC PNF demonstration for the medial rotators of the hip. We've already done the medial rotators with the hip flex to 30 and 60. Now we're going to move all the way up to 90 degrees. And for 90 degrees, what I like to do is pretty much the same thing with regard to the positioning. I like to go hip to hip, so greater trochanter to greater trochanter. And then what I like to do is cup around the distal femur and then go underneath the calf muscle. And then what I like to do is use the chest to lift them up in traction a bit. And then I will go into lateral rotation to stretch the medial rotators, and then instruct the patient to either go into medial rotation of the femur by rotating the thigh in, or by pressing the lateral malleus of the lateral malleolus of the ankle or their ankle into my hand. And they will accomplish the same thing. It doesn't matter if they go with medial rotation at the femur or if they push out with the lateral malleolus of the ankle. It's going to elicit the same response. But they would inhale, contract, and then exhale. I want you to bring your ankle in toward the inside, and they would actively go into lateral rotation to stretch the medial rotators. And then as an added bonus, if you like, you could just gently guide them and give them a little bit more of assistance to get a little bit deeper into the stretch. In terms of the hand positioning, we could also change it up and do it with distal hand, with one hand at the distal femur, one hand at the calcaneus. We're going to lift up. We're going to take them into lateral rotation to stretch the medial rotators and instruct the patient, rotate your thigh in or push your ankle into my hand. And then on the exhale, I want you to bring your ankle toward the inside or rotate your thigh out even more. And they would actively go into lateral rotation. And again, as an added bonus, you can just gently guide them into more lateral rotation to stretch the medial rotators. When we are working on the medial rotators at 90 degrees in this position, we're going to be targeting the gluteus medius muscle, specifically the anterior fibers. And the anterior fibers are going to be a lot stronger of a medial rotator the more we get into hip flexion. So at 90 degrees, they are very, very involved in medial rotation. And we're also going to be targeting the gluteus minimus anterior fibers. As with the gluteus medius, the more we get into hip flexion, the more the anterior fibers are going to be involved in medial rotation. We're also going to be hitting the tensor fasciae lati muscle. And at 90 degrees, we should definitely be hitting the piriformis, because if you recall, the piriformis changes its action between 60 and 90 degrees, depending on the morphology of the patient. So it goes from a lateral rotator to a medial rotator of the hip and an abductor. So at 90 degrees, we should definitely be getting some piriformis. And then some other muscles that are going to be involved, we're going to be getting a little bit of a stretch in the adductor longus and the pectineus, and we're going to be getting minimal stretch in the gracilis. But those are the main muscles. Next, we are going to focus on the medial rotators at 120 degrees. So we are going to flex the patient to 120 degrees. And same thing, I like to go hip to hip, so greater trochanter to greater trochanter. I like to hug around, and then what I like to do is use my chest, so I'll lean back, take them into lateral rotation to stretch the medial rotators, and either rotate your thigh in or push your ankle into my hand on the inhale. On the inhale, they contract, and then on the exhale, bring your ankle toward the inside, and they would actively go into lateral rotation. And as an added bonus, you can just gently assist them further to get them a little bit deeper into the stretch. And if you prefer the other hand positioning, you would just flex them to 120 degrees, one hand at the distal femur, one hand at the calcaneus, lift on an angle and lean, and then rotate your body out. So you're going into lateral rotation to stretch the medial rotators, and then instruct the patient, inhale and rotate your thigh in, or inhale and push your ankle into me. They would inhale and contract. And then exhale, bring your ankle toward the inside, and they would exhale, and they would actively go into more lateral rotation to stretch the medial rotators. And as an added bonus, you can just assist them a little bit and just guide them deeper into the stretch. When we are focusing on the medial rotators at 120 degrees, primarily, we're going to be targeting the gluteus medius and, again, the anterior fibers. And in this position, the gluteus medius anterior fibers are the strongest. So they are very, very strong medial rotators at 120 degrees. And again, specifically the anterior fibers. Also, the anterior fibers of the gluteus minimus are going to be a strong contributor to medial rotation at 120 degrees. And same thing with the tensor fasciae lati muscle, or the TFL. The TFL, when we are at 120 degrees, they're going to be a strong medial rotator. So we're going to be getting a lot of stretch in those three muscles. We're also going to be getting quite a bit of stretch in the piriformis muscle, because by 120, 100%, it is going to change its action to a medial rotator. And then we're also going to be getting a little bit of activation in the adductor longus. The adductor longus, we're going to be getting more activation than we did at 90 degrees. At 120, we are going to be getting more of a stretch from it. And we're also going to be getting a little bit of the pectineus as well and some minimal stretch in the gracilis. But those are most of the muscles that are going to be involved in this particular position. But our rest period is up. Time for set number 3. That was just a tiny taste of what can be found in my members only section. If you enjoyed it, become a member for only $5 a month to get access to hundreds of member only videos.